Dear viewers, and welcome to a new edition of our program Africa Today. In today's edition, we are going to talk about the Pan-African Road that Egypt is seeking to complete. We are going to talk about Egypt's plan to work with 9 other countries to complete the construction of a highway linking the country's north to Cape Town in Africa by the year 2024, with hopes of expanding the trade in the African continent. More details in the following story.
The Egyptian government is leading efforts to build a road linking Egypt with 9 African countries as part of efforts to boost developments and bolster Egypt's exports to Africa. Transport Minister Kamil El-Wazir told the House of Representatives on January 31st that his ministry is working to carry out several road projects to connect with Egypt's neighbor. The Pan-African Highway would begin in Egypt from the coastal city of Alexandria and go through Cairo on its way to the Arkan crossing on the Egyptian-Sudanese border. The road will pass through governorates of Fayoum, Bani Suef, Minya, Asyut, Sohag, Qina, Luqsor and Aswan to the Toshka junctions to Arkan. The 10,288 kilometers Pan-African road would cross through Egypt, through Sudan, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe and Botswana and South Africa, ending in Cape Town. El-Waziri said that his ministry is working to construct a 585-kilometer coastal highway from Saloum in western Egypt to Benghazi in eastern Libya at a cost of 3 billion Egyptian pounds. The road projects with neighboring countries aim to achieve sustainable development, promote trade exchange with Egypt's neighbors, and enhance access of the Egyptian exports to the Arab and African markets.
For light on the issue, we are joined over the phone by Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Ambassador Bayoumi, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Sir, Egypt actually is leading efforts to build road linking Egypt with 9 African countries as part of efforts to boost development and to bolster Egypt's export to the African continent. Can you shed more light about that project, Ambassador?
This is one of our very important dreams for Africa and for Egypt.
Yes.
And I remember I have a lot of memories there. Our ambassador in Rome, Samir Ahmad, sent us a proposal from Fiat in order to establish this route from Alexandria to Cape Town. That was in 1974. Look how we are a little bit late. We have to start this. And by that time, the value of such a road, it was not that expensive. The cost was not that expensive. Every year you are late, you are paying much more cost. So I hope that we take that decision, start immediately, because this will make a sort of an economic revolution in Africa. If you can reach Sudan, if you can reach Kenya, if you can reach up till South Africa, of course.
Yes.
And many African countries are closed countries. So they can use the road in order to be in Alexandria anytime.
Yes.
This is a good dimension, and you cannot make a sort of a good development without roads. Roads are the infrastructure for development everywhere. Take Germany. The Germans always are proud of their road system. And by the way, Germans are helping us here in Egypt to ameliorate our traffic system and the road traffic system. So I hope this will take its way immediately. And I think that on top of this, that the leadership of Egypt and some leaders in Africa also are quite aware about the importance of such a project. So let us pray God that this will take its place as soon as possible.
Yes, indeed. Mr. Ambassador, the 10,288-kilometer Pan-African Road actually would cross through Egypt, through Sudan, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa, ending in Cape Town. How do you see the importance of that and the difficulties that we might be witnessing to achieve that, because we have been dreaming of this road for long in order to facilitate the trade exchange between the different African states?
It is very good, but it is only a first step.
Yes.
Now you are establishing a road from north to south.
Yes.
That is vertical. This will encourage us to start another set of roads,
Yes.
horizontal, from east to south, in order to catch countries like Cameroon, like like Nigeria, those on the western side of the African continent. It is very important, and I think the step, if we take this step as soon as possible, it will pay by itself the cost of continuing such a huge program, and it will enable all the African countries in order to reach Europe easily.
Yes.
Because as you well know, the road transport is very important. Now we can get all the material we need from Africa.
Yes.
By the way, I have a long history trying to import African wood for Egypt.
Yes.
And it's much better than the European wood. And it is much easier and much cheaper. Let us start this. It will pay by itself, of course.
Sir, do you agree that the new Egyptian ports will actually facilitate the internal and external trade movement, support the Egyptian economy, prevent the accumulation of goods and containers in seaports, and achieve integration between the different means of transportation?
That's true. It's of course, when you start a project like that,
Yes.
step by step, it will enlarge the circle of our relations. There are some countries we cannot reach. Take Swaziland or countries which are totally closed. We cannot go there except by aeroplane to the nearest country, and then we take the road.
Yes.
If we establish a real road net, this will make us everywhere in Africa. And we are everywhere, but through the airway traffic. And it's very, it costs a lot.
Yes.
We are there by our embassies and our experts from the Egyptian Fund for Economic Cooperation in Africa. All our experts are suffering from the difficulty of easy of the travel, and here we are diminishing. We are making the cost less and less. Of course, this will lead to what you are asking for, the integration among many African countries.
Yes, indeed. Sir, how can this project help the AFCFTA agreement, which is actually merging 54 African countries of 1.3 billion, to be more effective?
This is a very good question, because we established the Pan-Africa Free Trade Area,
Yes.
which will combine all the African countries, more than 50 countries. This will be sort of one of the largest markets in the world. But we establish the market. Where are the merchandise? How we can get it? Because if the transport is the cost of transport, if it is high, it will be an obstacle for more and more trade between the countries.
Yes.
Establishing a road, establishing even ports, also we need ports for that. This will make the transaction of goods between all the African countries easier, cheaper, and this will help all of us, of course. Egypt will be the largest beneficiary of this.
Yes, indeed. Sir, would African countries lower both their imports and exports to Europe and Asia and work on improving the made in Africa products? How that could be reached from your point of view, Mr. Ambassador?
This is the coming challenge. If we start establishing the infrastructure, then more and more investors will be encouraged
Yes.
to come and to invest. An investor cannot come if you don't have roads, if you don't have first-class banking system, if you don't have ports. All of these efforts are to collect all our energy in order to support any investor to come and invest in our countries. Of course, yes, we should expect, and we must expect, more and more investors coming, seeking investing in our countries, if we supply him with all the infrastructure he needs.
Yes, indeed. Sir, do you believe that this road is very important to Egypt, the Egyptian industry and labor, and to all Egyptian companies as well?
This is the idea about enlarging our scale of free trade areas. This is one very important free trade area. We have with the Arabs also 17 Arab countries are members in the Arab free trade area. Of course, and the largest one and the most important is the Egyptian-European Association Agreement, which is establishing many things. Among them is the Egyptian-European Free Trade Area. So, as a matter of fact, we are engaged in 2,000 million inhabitants of market.
Yes.
This will attract investors to come to invest. If they invest there, they will produce. Production needs employees. More jobs will be created. Then more trade. And the experiment, the first point of our experiment is very positive. Our trade with Africa has increased 3 times because of the COMESA. Our trade with the Arab world is bringing surplus in our trade balance. With Europe, our export has increased 4 times in the last few years because of the free trade area. Indeed. If you establish the free trade area, then you are encouraging trade and export, of course.
Indeed, Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Always a pleasure to listen to your precious input, sir. Thank you very much. And moving on with this report, where Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry expressed Egypt's readiness to work with the new interim Libyan government until an elected government takes over after elections, which are scheduled in December. More details.
Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry called for ending all forms of foreign interference in the Libyan domestic affairs and ensuring the departure of foreign fighters and mercenaries from the Libyan territories. Shoukry's remarks came as he spoke during the FILA forum between the foreign ministers of Greece, Cyprus, Bahrain, Egypt, Saudi Arabia and the UAE in Athens. The Egyptian foreign minister affirmed the need to achieve a comprehensive political solution in Libya that allows the transfer of power to an elected government. Shoukry also stressed the certainty of the Palestinian cause to the security and stability, calling for reaching a permanent settlement to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict based on the two-state solution, with East Jerusalem as the future capital of the Palestinian state. The minister addressed the issue of facing terrorism, extremism and violence through joint decisive work in order to eliminate the threat they pose. He also highlighted the need for joint work to tackle the illegal immigration phenomena. Shoukry said that Egypt seeks balanced relations with other countries that are based on achieving cooperation and putting an end to the crises in the region through political solutions, not military ones. Shoukry called on those in charge of the matter, especially the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, to carry out their responsibilities to work on reaching peaceful solutions to all ongoing crises. He also affirmed Egypt's keenness to solve many political and economic challenges as well as health challenges that are clearly reflected in the coronavirus pandemic and cooperation among each country in Africa.
According to the statistics released by the African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, African states appear to be faring better than many other nations during the COVID-19 crisis. Now, Africa has the highest infection to death ratio in the whole world. More details with Abir Mitwali.
Africa has seen a 40% increase in a COVID-19 death over the past month compared to the previous 30 days and is now approaching the 100,000 mark. The spike in death comes as some countries begin to receive their first vaccines but are faced with growing skepticism among the population over the safety and efficiency of the vaccines. Earlier this week, South Africa announced that it will pause the rollout of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine because of a study indicating that the vaccine is less effective in preventing mild and moderate infections with the variant that is dominant in the country. But in February, the WHO Strategic Advisory Group of Experts on Immunization has recommended that countries use the AstraZeneca vaccine for priority groups, even if variants are present in a country, while further research is conducted. A view shared by and reinforced by microbiology professor Peter Pite at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine said that Africa's overall fertility rates were lower than those elsewhere in the world during the first stage of the pandemic. But now the alarms are on, and the Africa CDC has warned about rising fertility rates in the continent, saying that of 55 countries they monitor, 20 are now reporting fertility rates above the current global average of 2.2%.
Well, that, our dear viewers, would bring us to the end of this edition of Africa Today, brought to you here from our studios by myself, Mahis Rabia. Till tomorrow with another crew. It's goodbye.